In early 1939, Germany has seized Austria. Adolf Hitler, the Führer, wants to take even more land in Europe.
Ich will heute wieder ein Prophet sein.
On January 30th, Hitler tells the German Reichstag that if war comes, it will not be his fault. The blame will lie with one people, the Jews.
Es dem internationalen Finanzjudentum in und außerhalb Europas gelingen sollte, die Völker noch einmal in einen Weltkrieg zu stürzen, dann wird das Ergebnis nicht der Sieg des Judentums sein, sondern die Vernichtung der jüdischen Rasse in Europa.
2 months later, Hitler will take all of Czechoslovakia. On September 1st, he invades Poland, and World War II begins. In just a few weeks, the Poles are conquered. Poland's 3 million Jews are now controlled by Hitler and the Nazis. In late July 1941, Goering sends an official communique to Heydrich. He asks him to promptly submit an overall plan for the execution of the intended final solution of the Jewish question.
This is essentially the order authorizing Heydrich to begin preparations for the final solution of the Jewish question in Europe. They're going to remove them from the world by murdering them.
In August, SS leader Heinrich Himmler visits Minsk in Nazi-occupied Belarusia.
Himmler maintains a really close watch on what the Einsatzgruppen are doing, because ultimately they're his responsibility, so he travels a lot around the Eastern Front.
Himmler realizes that the shootings are taking an emotional toll on his men.
It's difficult, no matter who you are, to wake up in the morning and to shoot people all day long, and then to try to go to bed at night and know that the next morning you're going to wake up and do it all over again.
A massacre of 100 people is set up for him so that he can see how difficult it is to actually watch the killing of human beings, because Himmler has never had to do this before. He's never really seen death firsthand. He reacts very badly to the sight of bodies being murdered in front of him. He turns green and he almost throws up.
Himmler returns to Berlin to help design ways to execute mass killings that are more efficient. December 1941. A villa overlooking Lake Wannsee in Berlin is the location for a gathering of officials representing different parts of the Nazi regime. At the conference, Heydrich lists the number of Jews to be exterminated by the final solution. The list includes the Jews of the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe, the Jews in France, the Netherlands, Belgium, and Scandinavian countries. It also includes Jews in countries fighting alongside Germany, such as Italy, Romania, and Hungary. Even Jews in undefeated Great Britain and neutral Ireland are included. Grand total, over 11 million. The Nazis now have a plan to implement the Holocaust. Over the next months, Jewish families are deported by German forces and their collaborators. They are informed they are being resettled in Eastern Europe and told to bring belongings and valuables with them. Instead, they are being sent to the new Nazi extermination centers. They are crammed into airless, lightless railway cars and transported hundreds of miles without food or water.
Modern bureaucracies and trains enabled the movement of people across Europe in huge numbers, which had really never been seen before.
There are 4 major extermination centers: Chelmno, Treblinka, Sobibor, and Belzec. There are 2 additional extermination centers which also serve as forced labor camps, Majdanek and Auschwitz. In the centers, the Nazis designed methods to kill as many people in as short a time as possible, including using diesel engines.
The Nazis pumped carbon monoxide from these engines into the chambers themselves. They killed a lot of people. That doesn't necessarily mean that they were as kind of efficient in that process as is somehow supposed. These were very crude places, they were very improvisational places, and they were spaces of extraordinary and appalling suffering.
At Auschwitz, the Nazis use a pesticide called Zyklon B.
Zyklon B is a cyanide derivative, originally for exterminating vermin, for killing rodents in your house. It's a blue crystal. You open the can and it emits a poison gas.
They also begin construction on an extension to Auschwitz in the neighboring village of Birkenau. The site is solely dedicated to extermination and has several gas chambers.
The Nazis want to cram as many people into the gas chambers as possible because that generates this environment of high heat and humidity, which creates the hydrogen cyanide gas.
The scenes that followed after that defy imagination. Quite often you would find families or loved ones that were clutching each other so tightly that it was impossible to pull their arms apart from each other.
The victims are cremated. A perpetual pall of death hangs over the area.
It was generally the case that people sent to death camps were murdered within about 45 minutes to 2 hours of arrival.
The creation of the extermination camps is Hitler's final solution to the Jewish question. An industrial-scale system to mass murder human beings in their thousands every day. Just the pinnacle of evil.
The news spreads around the globe, and Jewish communities react. The world is beginning to learn the truth.
At the beginning of December, there's a day of mourning, not just in the United States, not just in Britain, but internationally. There are vigils, there are ceremonies and services in synagogues across the Western Hemisphere. And then finally, on December 17th, the Allied governments issue what is called the Allied Declaration on Atrocities. And they are condemning in very strong language what the Nazis and their collaborators are doing. They are using phrases like cold-blooded extermination and bloody atrocities.
Roosevelt particularly is very concerned, and Churchill is appalled as well. He says that the best thing that we can do to help Europe's Jews is to win this war as quickly as possible, and we need to divert all of our resources in service of doing just that.
They knew that these mass killings were happening. I don't think they could imagine quite the scale of the infrastructure that the Nazis had devoted to this. I think that the leaders had not quite grasped the extent of it.
In 1933, Hitler's perverse vision was to expel the Jews from Germany. By 1942, he is on the verge of exterminating the entire Jewish population of Europe. The Holocaust, the Shoah, will continue until Nazi Germany is defeated and the Third Reich is completely destroyed.